webinar series that we've been putting on for the last month or two. And so we're going to go ahead and keep moving forward with these webinar series. And so if there's something that you're looking forward, want us to present, and let us know, and we will try and schedule those in the future as well. So today's presenters we have two presenters today. And while I'm reading their short bios, they can start bringing up their PowerPoint, and also they can unmute themselves or put themselves on video as well if they wish. I believe our first presenter will be Christina Cannon. She's a management analyst with USDA Animal Plant Health Inspection Service, and out of Riverdale, Maryland. That is our headquarters. And she's been with the Grievance Service for 13 years and working with ezFedGrant since 2017. Our second presenter will be Carrie Crone Owen. She's a supervisor grievance specialist for plant protection and quarantine field operation. She currently has 6 years experience with cooperative agreements, all within plant protection, quarantine, field operations. And with that, I will turn that over to our first presenter. I believe that is Carrie, or I'm sorry, Christina, I believe, sorry.
Yeah. Hi, hey Carl. And I just wanted to let everybody know I'm having technical issues. Otherwise, I would be visually, putting my camera on and everything like that. So I'm kind of presenting from my phone. So I know Denise or someone presenting the first slide, or because I'll just be following along on my phone. So I can't really see right now what you guys are seeing. But can we go to the requirements for ezFedGrant access page?
Yes, the PowerPoint is up, and we're seeing the roadmap of ezFedGrant. Now the first page, assessing ezFedGrant and user role. Go ahead, Christina.
Are we good with the presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I didn't want to get started just in case we couldn't see anything. And the job aids, I was unable to get into my computer, so I will have to send them out once I'm able to. Started with accessing ezFedGrants and user roles. I know we were talking last week about the DUNS and getting into e-authentication level 2, and we kind of started there. And now we're going to go into accessing more access about e-authentication level 2 and what the different user roles are for our entities. So the requirements for ezFedGrant, there are 2 requirements for everybody using EFG. You have to have e-authentication level 2. So I know most people start with the level 1, but then you have to go up to getting approved for e-authentication level 2. And then the step 2 is you have to actually request and receive access into ezFedGrant, which you would log in by using e-authentication level 2. So I'm going to go to the next slide. The e-authentication level 2 and the LRA. In order to upgrade your e-authentication level 1 to level 2, you have to complete an
Christina, you went out for a minute. Christina, you still there?
I have no idea what happened. Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am, I can hear you now. You might want to start back over.
Okay, we'll be back. All right, let's go back to the first slide. I don't know why it muted me. That's weird. Okay, so there are 2 requirements for everybody using EFG. You have to have e-authentication level 2, and you have to actually have request and receive the access into ezFedGrants using your e-authentication level 2. And then, all right, we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide. In order to upgrade to e-authentication level 2 from level 1, you have to complete the identity verification process, which can be completed online by using the variation of different questions that are going to confirm your identity. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can go to a local registration authority or LRA. You can complete the digital identification verification questionnaire at the USDE authentication homepage, which is linked right there. Or you can find your LRA location in person. And again, the link is right there. It'll be a map, and you can click on your state, and it'll bring you up to the different places in the state that can get you the LRA access. And I think the next slide shows what the map looks like. If we can go to that slide. So the LRA authority locations, again, you click on the state that you're in or that you'd like to go to confirm your identity. So again, you can go online or you can go in person to a LRA. Then we will go ahead and go to the next slide. So accessing EFG, the website. There's the launch site. If you go into the launch site, which is linked there, you will be able to click Launch ezFedGrant, which will take you to the actual ezFedGrant website where you can request access. So there's two links there, the launch site and the actual EFG portal. The launch site, again, just contains the portal link, but if you want to go directly to the portal, that is the second link on that slide. And again, if you can go to the next slide, we'll see what that looks like. That is the launch site. And then there is a little blue banner which says Launch ezFedGrant, and that will take you to the EFG portal. And next slide, please. Once e-authentication level 2 access is granted, you can then request access to ezFedGrant at that the Launch ezFedGrant EFG portal site. Again, that little blue banner will take you here to this slide where you can select your role and access to ezFedGrant. That is that. We'll go ahead to the next slide. The external portal access request. For most entities and customers, submitting an access request involves identifying the organization you're affiliated with, selecting primary role, designating a point of contact, and providing personal contact information as requested or as required. Customers who already have access under at least one organization can submit access requests for additional organizations through your user profile. But you just can't, and I'll get into this later too, but you just can't have two roles within the same organization. And go ahead and we'll go to the next slide for GAOs and additional access requests. So this part, I know we spoke about a little bit last Monday, but this is very important. The first user in a new organization that is getting into ezFedGrant has to sign up for the GAO role. That is going to be the first one that is going to be able to approve additional requests for people getting in. So the GAO role is definitely the mandatory role to first get into ezFedGrant. Customers who select the GAO role must select an agency. Some GAO access requests are reviewed by agency employees. Again, when you're first signing in as the GAO, the first person in the organization, it'll be approved by the agency. And then from there on out, the GAOs can approve additional customers or additional people, users in their organization. And let's see, yeah, the AGMO is going to be, the AGMO of the agency is who's going to approve that first GAO access. And we can go to the next slide. More information, a little bit of a breakdown on what the GAO role can do. They review and approve, deny external portal access requests, again, like other customers that need to get in from their organization, change primary role assignments for other customers in the organization, deactivate access for other customers in organization, view opportunities, their organizations, applications, award documents, payment requests, etc., create applications, claims, repayment requests, prepare and submit financial and performance reports, control assignment of work items to grants processors in their organization. They can do a whole lot. I mean, they don't sign off on the awards, but yeah, again, this is the main GAO role, the first person in the organization. Additional primary user, we'll go to the next slide, please. Additional primary user role categories. The main roles assigned to users are: a recipient organization must have at least GAO and signatory official roles. So every organization has to have at least those 2 roles. So whoever comes in as the GAO, most likely like the second person that would want to get in is a signatory official if you're going to want to start to do work right away. A recipient organization can have multiple GAOs. They can have multiple grants processors, multiple signatory, but the minimum is going to be at least 1 GAO and 1 signatory official. And a recipient contact cannot hold multiple roles at this time in an organization. I believe across organizations, it would be the same role. The GAO, the primary role, has the most permissions of all external user roles. Each organization, again, must have at least 1 user with this role, and that would be the first customer in their organization. Again, that's super important to know. Access requests for the other 2 primary roles cannot be submitted until an organization has a GAO. And we're going to go ahead and move to the next slide. And my slide looks funny, so I hope you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing. Additional user roles, certifying official, also called the signatory official. Certifying officials are responsible for reviewing and digitally signing progress reports and claims. This is a temporary role that only applies to a single process, report, or claim. When customer prepares a progress report or claim, the customer selects a certifying official. The certifying official can be any user in the same organization, including themselves. And on the next slide, there is another breakdown, another presentation for more information on user roles. We're going through it here in the presentation too, but also there's external user roles, starts at 2 minutes and 5 seconds if you wanted to watch another YouTube link for more information on user roles. And we will go ahead to the next slide. Deactivating access and leaving organizations. So this is important too. Once somebody leaves, they have to be officially deactivated from ezFedGrant. After customers' external portal access request is approved, the approval can be withdrawn by deactivating the customer's access. This is necessary when a customer leaves or changes organizations. Customers who are affiliated with multiple organizations must be removed 1 at a time from each organization. This allows the user to be removed from the organizations while retaining access to others which they are affiliated. This will prevent the customer from seeing any information or taking action for the removed organization, but they will still have access for the ones that they need to be in. Customers with with the GAO role can, so the GAO again, deactivate external portal access for other customers. The GAO role again, they can give access, they can change roles, and they can help deactivate customers as needed. However, the GAOs cannot deactivate their own access. Another GAO must do this for them. If there are no other users in the organization, the ezFedGrant help desk must be contacted to deactivate. If there's only 1 GAO, they would be the ones to have to deactivate that GAO. So again, the ezFedGrant help desk would, if there's only 1 GAO in that organization, they would be the ones that would remove the access. And then if we can go to the next slide. Deactivated customers. Any incomplete work items in ezFedGrants which are assigned to deactivated customer must be reassigned or completed by another user. If the customer is a partner in any active agreements, those agreements must be modified to replace the deactivated partner. So in the partner section, if someone leaves the organization, someone else has to take their place because there will be no more access from that deactivated customer. If a customer is affiliated with multiple organizations, they must be removed from all organizations to have their access fully revoked. When a fully deactivated customer logs into ezFedGrants, they will only have the option at that point, basically they're starting over and they would have to submit a new access request. They would have no access to the agreement lifecycle activities, they will, and they will not have any role at all. They won't have any primary user role. If the customer requires access to ezFedGrants, they have to start over and submit a new access request. And deactivation of ezFedGrants does not affect the e-authentication level 2 account. So again, that would only be pertain to being deactivated from the ezFedGrants portal. And that is all I have for my portion of roles and responsibilities and access to ezFedGrants. Do we have any questions up front?
Well, a transition is happening to our next speaker. I think Christina can want to give an opportunity for some questions. And is there any, maybe one or two questions that folks want to ask? If not, then we'll just go ahead and keep going. I'm sure Carrie will probably, Christina probably still be around, even though that she's calling in on her phone. She probably won't be able to see her
I'll still be on
chat
here,
box.
definitely.
But if there's any voice, then she'll probably still answer it at that time. But with that, we'll just go ahead and get moving forward. Carrie?
All right. Good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Carrie Croy Owen. And as Christina was speaking earlier, once you have actually gotten set up into ezFedGrants, you then want to apply to a federal funding opportunity and an application. I mean, after all, isn't this why we're doing these presentations? So the very first thing that you would want to do, next slide, please, is whether it is going onto grants.gov or receiving an email from your program, you would have an opportunity number. Here is a screenshot of grants.gov. And there are many ways that you can go onto grants.gov and search. You can search by forecasted, by posted. You can search by the opportunity number, as you can see in the top screen, or you can break it down by USDA APHIS. And from there, you would see your opportunity number for the project that you want to apply to. Or next screen, please. You would receive an email like this. It would be an email generated from the system or from your ADODR that gives the opportunity number, and it tells you what the project is for. Either way, going onto grants.gov or looking at the opportunity email, you still have to apply to any opportunity in ezFedGrants. And when we say apply in ezFedGrants, if you're used to doing the old system hard copy prior to ezFedGrants, this is really just filling out the forms like the 424, the 424A. So that's what we mean when we say that you have to apply to the federal funding opportunity. Next slide, please. So the first thing that you want to do is you will access your home screen of ezFedGrants, and you will, this is just a screenshot of the home screen, and you will start out by searching for your funding opportunity. Next slide, please. And you will want to go under Create Application. And this, I am giving you a screenshot of every single slide. If you want me to slow down, I can definitely do that. Next slide, please. And here you'll see there's many different search criteria. We suggest the easiest way is to actually put your funding opportunity number, and when you hit, when you get it, and come here and hit search to find your application to apply to. Next screen, please. And once you do that, as you can see, there's a list of all sorts of funding opportunities, and a link will come up to the right, and it says create application. And that's where you want to go. And again, you just want to create application. And the application, again, is just filling out the 424, 424A, and all of the additional documentation. So once you've created, you hit the create link, it takes you into the very first page, and that is the 424. And from here, you will start filling out all of your information. It defaults automatically to application and to new. The system will always default to application and new. Even if you did the project last year, that's how it will default. Next slide, please. You'll start filling in your contact, your organization information. You'll start putting in your EIN or your, we are switching from your DUNS over to the unique identifier number. So you'll start putting all of that information in. And the system will actually pull in some of your information. So you won't have to put in all of your information, but anything that has a red asterisk is important and is mandatory that you have to complete. So next slide. And then there's a question where you have to, it starts filling in your information. It will have your legal name for your organization. And then that's when it brings in either your EIN or your TENS number and your DUNS or your unique identifier number. And it brings in your address. And you always want to verify that this information is correct because this is linked to your SAM registration. Next slide, please. And from here, you can search that your organization, your name is correct. Otherwise, you can leave these blank if you have any additional information that you need to put in for E. You can put it in there. If not, you can leave that blank. Next slide, please. And when you get to box F, this is where you need to identify the person from your organization, your awarding agency, that you would put in your, this would be either your, this is typically your grants person or your signatory authority person their information would go in block F. And then next slide, please. And then once you complete all of your contact information, then you have to complete the information for your affected areas of project. And this is part of this will pull into later in our Data Act requirements. So you'll have to say whether or not this is city, county, state. You'll have to complete that information. And then you'll have to put in the descriptive title. And now this typically will default from the opportunity, but just make sure that 15, it is important that you have your descriptive title. So make sure that that information is completed and that it makes sense and that you're actually applying. We don't want you to get this far into an application and then realize that you're not applying to the correct opportunity. Next slide, please. And so for box 16, you'll have to put in your congressional district information. So you'll have to know if it's for all of the state. I've seen it done many different ways. For example, West Virginia does WV all. So you'll know, you can always come to us and ask how you should fill out your district information. And there's also a link down under box 16 if you have questions on how to fill out your congressional district information. But this is important, and this will carry over into our agreement, and we do have to have that information. Next slide, please. And then you'll put in your proposed project start date and your proposed project end date. And then your estimated funding in block 18. And then if there's any, if you're doing a cost share, which is cost share is not required, but if you do have cost share and it is on your work and financial plan, you do need to include it in your application. So that would go under applicant. Next slide, please. And then for box 19, you would know whether or not your state is covered by the intergovernmental review process. And and you would select either yay, yes, I can't speak this afternoon. You would select A for yes, and then you would put the date that your state or your organization was reviewed and approved. And then when we will get further into the attachments, you would upload your SPOC approval or review form. Or you would select B, that your program is subject, as all APHIS programs are subject to the review, but your state or entity has decided not to be part of the review. And then you need to, in section 20, you have to say yes or no if you have any delinquent federal debt. Next slide, please. And then when on the 424, you come all the way down to the bottom, and that is where signatory would sign off. But as you're completing this form, it does not populate as of yet. You have to actually hit up at the top on the right, you have to hit the next to take you over to the 424A. Once you have completed the entire 424A and all of the necessary attachments, then you can submit. So then box 21 would auto-populate for the signatory officials information and for them to sign. So next slide, please. So now we have hit that next sign and we are now onto the 424A. And this is just, we are capturing the detailed budget information. So you want to write down, any of the federal funding information in column E. And if you have a cost share, that non-federal information in column F. Next slide. And then once you go down to the 424A section B, you are actually breaking down each category: personnel, fringe benefits, travel, equipment, supplies. All of that information would be broken out and captured here on in section 424A section B. Next slide, please. And this is just an example of what it should look like. On the right-hand side is from a work and financial plan. And then on the left-hand side is the mirror image of the 424A section B broken out. And so that's what we will be looking for when we review an application, is are these two matching? Next slide, please. Then you'll move on to section C. If you have a cost share, you would put your information in section C. Typically, it would you would leave it blank. For section D, this does need to be completed. And it needs to be your best guesstimate for each quarter. I know it's really simple to just, do it by fourths, but it's really best to have it like your best guess what you think you're going to spend by quarter broken down here. Next slide, please. And then once you move out of that, you would go into section E for any projected needs for future years. And then section F would be a breakdown of your direct charges and your indirect charges, and then any additional remarks. I have seen it, and the remarks would be indirect capped or indirect only on personnel, things of that nature. Next slide, please. So once you've completed all of the 424A information, you want to, again, hit that next button to proceed on. And during the entire process, we recommend that you hit that save, and then it will always, you can come back to where you left off in your actionable items if you hit save. So next slide. So the next slide is you will be identifying your partners. As Christina mentioned earlier, you have to have there's a primary administrative contact and a primary program contact. And these two people do need to be listed on the application. And so the primary administrative contact is typically somebody who would be getting the reports. They're more like your admin person, your finance person. And the primary program contact would be your primary investigator. There's also options to add in a primary signatory official. And while it is not mandatory, you can put a primary signatory official on ezFedGrant here, and it does help the program out, as any information that you put here carries over onto the agreement when we write it. So if you put in your primary official, signatory official here, then we will know who your primary signatory official is if we have not already reached out to you for that information. Next slide, please. And then here is, it's on caret 4 for additional details. You would answer all of this information about your recipient type, if you're minority, which you would select yes for tribes. And then you would, any of your other reporting information. So if you have a, sorry, I just went blank. So you would put that you are a tribe, and then if you, typically there would be, if you like an institute of higher education or things of that nature, you would answer all of those questions. Next slide, please. And then you would select whether or not you are to CFR 200 exempt and your place of performance. And all of this would be a drop down, yes or no. I don't know of anyone that is to CFR 200 exempt, but someone can definitely correct me on that. And then you would put in your, depending on what you put for your place of performance, it could ask for your county, or, and you would put in that information. And then you would say yes or no if you're SPOC, which I discussed earlier. And then it would ask if you are international. And obviously these agreements would be no for international. And so next slide, please. And then the very last section would be adding attachments. And so here we do have some required fields. So you are required to upload your work plan, upload, and you have to upload your financial plan as well. You also have to upload if you are charging indirect costs, while it is not, it does not have an asterisk by it. If you are charging indirect costs, you do have to upload your most current indirect cost rate agreement, and then any other applicable information. So if you were part of a SPOC review, you would have to, here is where you would upload your SPOC review or approval. If your agreement was over $100,000, you would have to upload your lobbying certificate and your LLL, citing that you understand that you cannot lobby with our funds. So next slide, please. And so here's, I did add in some attachment requirements. So as I said, the work plan and the financial plan. And again, for your intergovernmental review or the SPOC, and now it's my understanding that if you have an MOU in place, then you could possibly be under a SPOC review. But you would have to, you would go back to your program and ask that information. Again, the indirect cost rate agreement, the most current negotiated indirect cost rate agreement. And there are some caveats to that. We do want to point out that for PPQ, for our PPA 7721, we have capped our indirect costs at no more than 15% of the total federal award. And VS has capped their Farm Bill agreements at no more than 10% of the total federal award. And again, I discussed the certification regarding lobbying for awards over 100,000 and the LLL. And then if you have an inventory, if you are borrowing equipment or buying equipment, you would include an inventory. So once you have done, you have uploaded all of your attachments. Next slide, please. You want to finalize the application. So you have gone through everything and you make sure everything is accurate. You have all of your information submitted, everything's uploaded. So the very last thing that you want to do is you want to hit submit. And there will be, once you have done everything that you're supposed to do, a big submit button will come up at the top. Until you do everything, the submit button will not be on the top right-hand side. And once you hit submit, this will actually go back to section 21 for your signatory official to sign. Next slide, please. And so you've submitted it for your signatory official, and so you're just making your files. Excuse me. So there's a generate package button up at the top of this application now. And you can select any of the documents that you want, as long as they are in PDF form. So you can get your 424, your 424A, and then any of the other documentation that you have uploaded. And you can hit generate package, and it will create a nice, neat little package, and then you can put it in whatever file you would like to have. Next slide, please. So you've created your file and you're working with your signatory official, and it is now ready for your signatory official to sign the application. So your signatory official will log in to ezFedGrant on the home screen. Under their actionable items, they will have a list, and it will have like an application number, and it will tell them what the status is. So here you see on your screen, application APP-5749, and the status is pending signature. Next slide, please. So your signatory official would want to click on application on the live link for the application, and that will take them in to the application that you have just created. And it will open it to a sign and submit screen. And it will give them, it will look just like this screen, and it will give them 3 options: sign and submit, return, or withdraw. And we want to sign and submit. So next slide, please. So once you do that, and your signatory official has reviewed everything to make sure that everything is correct, a legal notice pops up. And in my presentation, I did put a big red star beside the legal notice. You have to click on that legal notice, and a little box will pop up, and you have to check it. And when you check it, the sign and submit button comes up, and it says complete signature. So without clicking on legal notice, you won't get anywhere. You will be dead in the water, and you will call us and you'll say, I can't sign this. And 9 times out of 10, it's people are missing the legal notice button. So if you click on the legal notice and then hit the little box to check it, and then you can complete your signature. Next slide, please. And then that allows your signatory official to then sign the application. And from there, you can go back in to the home page, and you can look up, you can check the status of your application. So you can put it in just by going to applications under review. You can look at the status. You can see whether it's been submitted or if it's been considered. There's another function where you can search, where if you just put in like the funding opportunity title, or if you put in your the full opportunity number, and if you search it, it will tell you what the status is. Next slide, please. And so once your signatory official, or you as the signatory official, have signed the application, an email will populate that says that the application has been approved by APHIS. However, please note that this is just the beginning of the process, that this is just the application, that we have not actually written the agreement yet. I put in a red box that please note that APHIS issues a funding award. So please, this is the first step in a multi-step process. Next slide, please. And then I just included the status for applications. So if you go into the system and you are searching and you want to see what the status of your application is, there's a definition of the different statuses. So if it says that it's draft, then that means that someone in your organization has started the application. If it's pending signature, that means that it's with your organization to sign. If it's submitted, it's with the ADODR. If it's grant review, then that means that it's with one of us, agreement specialists. If it's been returned to the program manager, that means that there was something possibly wrong with the application and we had to return it to the ADODR. If there's pending clarification, then the ADODR has returned it back to you. If you see accepted or recommended, then that means that the agreement specialist has, yes, thank you, Donna. ADODR and program manager are the same exact thing. So if we say accepted or recommended, then the agreement specialist has accepted the application and it is just waiting on the final approval from the ADODR or program manager. And then if you see approved, then that means that it is now in draft agreement status. And we just need to write the agreement. And next slide, please. And I have just created some application workflows just to remind you of the way agreements work. So there's always an application that is started in draft status with the cooperator. Then if it's submitted, it's with the ADODR or program manager. And then the application is with the grant review with the agreement specialist. And then it's accepted or recommended is with the ADODR. And then approved means that it is in a draft agreement and we are working to create an agreement. And then next slide is just another workflow. And it just shows you the steps like that the cooperator completes the application and signs it. The ADODR considers and accepts the application. And then the agreement specialist approves, and then the ADODR approves the application. We're working on it, but it's like a 3-step process for it to become a draft agreement. And so that is the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
Hello, everyone. Thanks, Carrie, for that great presentation. There is one question that popped up in the chat box, and I'll just go ahead and read it to you. I believe it was sent to me privately, so I don't want to put the person's name on blast, so to speak. It notes, when you fill out and apply through ezFedGrant, then you do not need to use grants.gov, correct?
Can you ask the question one more time?
When you fill out and apply through ezFedGrant, then you do not need to use grants.gov.
That is correct. All applications are in ezFedGrants. It's just, I know PPQ personally does not use grants.gov. Some of the other programs do announce their funding in grants.gov. And so that is just a way for you to see your funding opportunity number. But everything has to be done in ezFedGrants.
The person that answered that question, I don't know if that answered your question.
Did that?
Just let me know if you want more clarification, just let me know, and I will respond to that. Are there any other questions or comments that that people have? I guess one thing I just want to say was I know when Carrie was referring to opportunity, that's an ezFedGrant language, but it's also known as the application as well. So I just wanted to, I know there might be a little confusion that might create that, but the email that you receive, you just have like an APP prefix. I believe that will be considered for application. But within the ezFedGrant, they call that as an opportunity. So it's pretty much the name is kind of synonymous, but I guess it really depends on how it is worded. There's a question just popped up in the chat box. It says, what if you don't know your opportunity number? Where can you find it to access your application?
So, and if someone else is on, they might be able to jump in and give their process. I know for me personally, I send, or PPQ, we send the opportunity out to the ADODR. So our ADODR or program manager does have that information, and then we ask for them to send it out to you. Yes, and then that is what someone else is confirming, is that you should get it from your program manager or your grant specialist.
Yes, yeah, like for me, just most cases, an example, a lot of times I'm the program manager and ADODR, and I usually work with the agreement specialists like Carrie and her colleagues. So usually they'll send whoever your contact is with an agency, who's the program manager, and or your ADODR, usually whoever that you're working with, a lot of times they will also receive that opportunity number. So if you don't see an opportunity number, you know, when you're communicating with them, just go ahead and just follow up with them. A lot of times, like I said, I'll receive it, and then I will forward that back out, because one thing I noticed that sometimes my contact may not receive it. So I'll just make sure that they receive it as well. So the best way to do it, if you don't see it, or if it doesn't come in your inbox, your email, and or your ezFedGrant inbox, if you don't see it, just reach out to your contact, and then they should be able to forward on to you as well. So I'm just using it as my example, because usually I'm the ADODR a lot of times / program manager. So great question.
Also, if you know your the title to your to your agreement. Like for us, we have a few summer camps that have safeguard natural heritage. And if you type in the program title, sometimes it'll populate your a list of opportunities. And if you see your opportunity, then you can search for it that way as well.
That's right. You can go to the main screen of ezFedGrants and under where you click create an application. That's one of the many search elements, as you can type in like your title, the title of your project, and then possibly a list will come up, but then you can narrow it down to see which one is yours. You can do that, yes. Thank you, Denise.
This is Christina Klaus from Agreement Services Center. I wanted to make a note about the opportunity number also. For tribes who are applying or have opportunities out there, you will also notice if you do a search and it comes up with a list of opportunities that the program you're doing business with should be housed in the naming convention of that. So for example, if you do business with plant protection and quarantine and also veterinary services, the abbreviation for their agency will be in the middle of the opportunity number. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind when doing an open search for your opportunity.
Great questions and great comments as well. So you have both your ADODR program manager that kind of seen this as well, so you're kind of getting both sides at the same time. Any other questions or comments? I've not seen another question or comment in the chat box. Sometimes I oversee them as well. I know there was a lot that has been covered, and if there's anything else, if there are any questions or comments, let us know. I know it's a little bit challenging. There are user roles. I know there were a lot of questions on our last Monday. There are a lot of questions that came up about user roles, just to keep that in mind. I know Christina kind of went through it, and if there are questions, just let us know as well too, because sometimes the user, if you have multiple roles, it's always great. You know, this is coming more from a ADODR program perspective. So when I work in, sometime the primary may not be available, so then I have to work with the second, the backup, so that way the signature official that backup can sign it, and or whoever the grants specialist and or GAO might be. So usually it's good to have those as well. So yeah, just keep that in mind, and I think that'll be, I just want a little plug on that. So there's a question that popped up. If you use a 10% minimalist default, can you still, can you still enter that for your indirect costs number?
Yes. If you are using, if that is what you are using for your indirect cost, then yes.
Yeah, that was a great question on the indirect costs. Some of our newer funding opportunities that has been released, those are fairly new. So some of them are a little bit different from each other. So just keep that and just work with your program manager / ADODR, and they'll let you know what they are, or if not. So then just keep that in mind. Yeah, the PowerPoints will be available, and the job base will be available as well. There are some questions that are popping up in the chat box. Just keep that in mind. So yeah, those will be emailed out as well too. So if Either Denise will very likely will be emailing those out, and I think pretty much for everybody's email, at least last time, we should be emailing that out again. So
Yep.
if not, then if this is your first round, missed it last week, or if you didn't register, please just drop your email in the chat box, and we'll just add on to that, and it will be emailed them out again as well. From our last experience, seeing that for some reason, the PowerPoint and some of the job aids were posted in the chat box, and for some reason, some folks are not seeing it. So that's why we wanted to email them out as well. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, we'll have another session next Monday, and I know there's a lot of information that were covered today, and if there are questions, just let us know at that time as well, or you can email that as well. The question just popped up: what is the most allowed by funding agency for indirect costs from a tribe?
And I, unfortunately, I can't answer that question. I do not know. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I thought I heard somebody speaking.
Correct. Yeah, actually, as an ADODR, this is more from ADO. Yeah, if you have a direct cost negotiated, just make sure you submit that whatever negotiated cost is to your ADODR program manager. So because I've done that myself, so that's the reason why I know that. And just work with your program manager and your ADODR, and then they will work with their agreement staff. And one of their agreement staff just kind of posted that a little bit as well. A tribe should be able to charge their negotiated. Yeah, whatever your negotiated indirect cost is, and yeah, just add that, and just keep that in mind that some of the cap that were put, those caps, just FYI, those caps were actually put in place by Congress, with that funding. So it wasn't the agency put those in. Actually, it's Congress, when they released those funding, those caps were put in there. So just to keep that in mind. So yeah, so if there's none, just make sure you submit your indirect costs, whatever that is, and then they will work with you. Hopefully that answered last person's questions. Again, if there are any questions, I know again there are a lot that has been covered this past hour. So if there's any questions, I'm sure before we start off that next Monday, we'll just give an opportunity to people that have questions, and we'll try to address those questions from the beginning. Then we'll start off the sessions again. Are there any other questions or comments? What time are we currently? They're all pretty much the same time. Monday at the same time will be, if you're Mountain Time, I know we just switched to Daylight Time. So if you're in the Mountain Daylight Time, I know Arizona's kind of like that kind of they're both standard and Mountain Daylight. So, but if you're on Colorado time or Mountain Day, that will be 11 a.m. 11 a.m. Mountain Standard or Mountain Daylight Time. And so yeah, so it's pretty much all the same on Monday at 11 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. So if you're anywhere across the region, across the country, sorry. So just equate that to your time zone. If there are no other questions or comments, again, thank you for joining us today. And if you want to just drop your email, if you haven't registered, so just go ahead and drop it so that we send the PowerPoint and the job aids that accompany with it as well. And if there's no more questions or comments, thanks again for joining us today, and we'll catch up with you next week. Thanks again to Carrie and Christina for the great presentation today and all the agreement staff that are online answering questions online as well.
Thank you, Carl. Thanks, everybody.
Oh.